I exist again. So, it may come as a surprise to none of you, but I happen to be a 2010s kid! Which means I was big into many of the best shows that come in the early parts of that decade. One of my favorites being Adventure Time. No, that's not right. Not that one. Regular Show. Closer, but no. Gumball. Gravity Falls. Total Drama World Tour. Alright, it was the one its own show.
Yes, really.
This show I felt was extremely slept on back in its day. Cause man, after rewatching it this year, does hold up surprisingly well. That's not only as successful to the original, but just being a funny show through and through. And man, is this show still funny? Like, at its best, it can make me laugh hysterically over and over. And most of it comes from the quick and snappy dialogue mixed into overall goofy and over-the-top character portrayals. Oh, and in case you're wondering, these are my top 5 episodes of the show.
Can I ask a question?
No.
And as much as I love to look at these amazing episodes and just rave about them, bigger and better reviewers than I have already said their pieces of the best the show can offer. But, interestingly enough, even with the backlash it originally got, not a whole lot of people talk about its weaker outings. At least, retrospectively speaking, about the "it ain't like the original" bias. So, to display my undying love for the show, I'm gonna go over my least favorite episode of the show, French Fries.
Now that is the happiest looking angry mob I've ever seen.
Okay, so the A plot consists of Porky getting Bugs and Daffy tickets to the big game. But due to him eating Daffy's fries, both of them are at odds, and it's up to Bugs getting them back together in order to watch the big game. But there's also a B plot, which consists of Sam getting an opportunity to get $1 million. All he has to do is kick a ball through a field goal. Now, while I say this episode is a dud, there are quite a few aspects of it I do like. So, like, I don't know, let's go to them. Alright, get this out of the way. Daffy is the funniest character in this show, period. Yes, what to do with Lola is great. Tina is great. Cecil is amazing. Daffy is goated. He is consistently the funniest character in every episode he's in. I can get how it can be a bit much for some people though. He is an uncaring, narcissistic, dumb as fuck, apathetic, arrogant, and just the most pathetic little dickhead this side of Cecil, and I love him for it. There's a reason I based Froky's entire shtick off this version of the character. These type of characters are always my favorite due to their just plain uncaringness to the people around them and openness to what they say. And Daffy in the show hits all the right marks for me in that regard. And it's no different here. You see, the thing that divides Porky and Daffy in this episode is entirely the Daffy's pre-established character. He would be this petty over someone eating his fries and would drag it out for this long. And his pettiness here is quite funny and leads its way to some great lines and moments from him.
He wants to talk to you. I'm not talking to him. I'm not talking to you! Well, remind me to never pay for anyone's meal. You never pay for anyone's meal. That's because I have class. I'm putting the garbage in the garbage can. Those are pictures of me. Well, you only had 2 photos of Porky, but by then it was too late. This isn't about French fries. This is about morals. You don't have morals. Well, then I guess it's about French fries.
Though he can be a bit too childish at times, but it's not entirely out of character for him. Plus, he's able to keep the argument funny, because the writers knew to focus on his side for the majority of the episode. Another thing they do to focus on well is the side plot with Sam. While not as funny as Daffy stuff, the dynamic between Bugs and Sam in this episode shines through well, and leads to some great banter and moments. Though I gotta ask, whose dog was biting him when he jumped over the fence? He looks like he ran into the witch's house, so if that's supposed to be Gossamer then... Hey, so you do have a trace of his original personality. You've been holding out on me. Anyway, back to what I like. I really do like how this plot connects well to the A plot, unlike other shows that have subplots like this. It establishes him being able to go to the game at the beginning, and it pays off near the middle mark where Bugs needs a ticket to go to the game. Speaking of that, I love how anticlimactic the ending of this plot is, with him tripping without the quiz at the beginning, then sharpening his shoes, all the way to, whoa,
You're not gonna believe this.
ending up tripping up anyway.
Wow, epic fail.
I also love how nonchalant Bugs ends up doing it and just taking the check. It also leads a nice way for Bugs to win in the end, but more on that later. As for other pros, I like the running gag with Speedy and Porky. The opening gag was funny. The show needed more segments of off-duty cop robbed King. Though I did see one more review pointing out how if it was a 70s cop show, the cop would have been drinking his coffee from a thermos or a mug, not an anachronistic looking modern day Starbucks paper coffee cup. And I'm just like, I like the song. Lola was also robbed of more songs in the show, cause man, that girl could sing.
Thanks, President.
Though I swear to God, animated from Mad to do this segment, cause.
And that's it.
Now we get mean. Let's get over to the cons. May Neptune have mercy on your soul.
Alright, let's get this out of the way.
Porky's character here is trash. Now, usually, I quite like Porky in this show. When he's not the lovable butt monkey to Daffy, or occasionally anybody else, he's a really good straight man to the wacky antics around him when Bugs can't fill the role. Though he ain't close to one of my favorites, I usually really enjoy him for the rest of the season. This one, though, I have many issues with how he's portrayed. Let's get one point in. He is uncharacteristically petty in this episode. Now, like I said prior, this petty argument between the two is completely in character for Daffy to be dramatic about. But Porky is just the most petty bitch about this shit for no reason. They gave no reason for him to care about this kind of scandal. Especially since he is not the character to hold a grudge like this where he dissociates both people, even though Bugs only slightly agreed with Daffy. Let me remind you, this is the same dude who was able to forgive Daffy when he almost injured him to death, was able to take shit for him when he was a butler, a chauffeur, and a bowling ball, and lost his job thanks to Bugs. And the one time he did hold a grudge was when his entire bank account got stolen for a boat which he thought was going into a kidney transplant. So it makes no sense for this petty shit to tick him off. And he only got pissed when Bugs started taking sides? To quote Bugs in this episode, there are no sides, it's french fries! And when it starts, he has become so childish and immature, which falls out of line for this character in the show. Cause Porky is one to point out someone's immaturity and delusions. So it again makes no sense for him to be on Daffy's level in this episode. And then there's the argument itself. I'm gonna just be upfront, I usually can't stand episodes that center around one argument or disagreement. Especially when, in said argument, the same points are repeated over and over, which just feels incredibly tedious and drags the episode to a halt. And man, does this episode do that! Now, like I said before, the episode did not have to focus on him and keep the Daffy at focus. But when it does bring up a good time to focus, it goes nowhere. This is due to how minor the center point of the argument is. Like I mentioned before, the argument is centered around one dude eating another dude's fry. An argument like this is not meant to last a whole episode. But man, does this episode give it its all to drag the same points on, and there's so little variety of the points, so it becomes predictable and leaves you waiting for the moment where it ends. And for a normally fast-paced show like this, that's a major flaw. And man, this main point just so forced. That's a good way to describe this whole plot. Forced. The argument itself is forced, and it meaning this much to Porky feels like a forced way for Bugs to lose the tickets. Speaking of which, Bugs' treatment in this episode is, in a word, unfair. Let me put it this way. All Bugs wanted to do was go to the playoffs. He didn't want to get worked into this petty shit with those two crazy people and didn't want to pick sides. All he wanted to do was go to the playoffs with two friends. But he just so happened to accidentally pick sides while calling Porky. And so for being a middleman to this petty as hell argument, he loses a chance to go to a game and is forced to stay in the locker room for the majority of it, and gets his hand stepped on by some random dick. Like, seriously, the dude just wanted to move your giant ass foot, so you step on him? Fuck you! Anyway, back to the tree. Now, Bugs losing in the show ain't new. In fact, it's a new trait I like about him. But unlike in, say, episodes like Semper Lie or The Shelf, he did nothing to warrant this treatment. Sure, he did lie about the gift baskets. By the way, that I never lie shit for Semper Lie was in itself a lie. Oh, and honestly, my ass. Could have warranted a little shit. But not him losing the tickets. And there isn't a satisfying enough payoff for him getting all of this, which just makes the episode itself feel underwhelming and a waste of time. Now, with all that being said, would I call this episode bad? lot of mentioned prior are quite bad, and it does make it the worst episode of the show, but I can't call it bad per se. Because, well, it's a comedy show at the end of the day. If it doesn't make me commit to Horror Thursdays, then at the very least it is job. But out of all the episodes from this show that do make me commit the Hardy Seaman laugh, this one has the most flaws within it that I cannot overlook. So, do I like it or not? Well, I'd say it's a decent watch, but this is coming from a Daffy fan, which seems to be either a majority I'm unaware of, or a minority that I'm overblowing. So take what I say just a hint of clover. In fact, I encourage you to watch this episode if you're a fan of the show, because I'd love to see more coverage of it that aren't from 2011 but her fanboys of the classics. Because, more than any other, it leaves me the most perplexed with the general stance. But, the way I see it, it'd be a dud. A pretty decent dud, but a dud nonetheless. With that being said, I really like the show, please don't get it twisted.